Hello, I am Sarah of Sarah Wing Intuitive Arts, and here's a little Baba Ganesha with me. Hello, and a little fairy with me, and a little grandma with me. So today, I want to create a video with some support, and so I'm going to talk about some different methods of supportive communication, and that could be from your angels, your guides. That could be connecting to different deities. That could be using tarot and oracle. That could be looking at astrology. So these types of things, because I feel like myself included, many people I know could really use some supportive communication, some supportive tools. And I think a lot of people are kind of taking some first steps also into connecting maybe some people for the first time with their intuitive side, intuitive or psychic nature, their empathic nature, whatever it may be. And it's a delicate, kind of a delicate state, a delicate feeling. And I think a lot of us, including myself right now, are also feeling a delicate feeling, who maybe understand these types of communication and have been on a long journey with them, but are feeling in the process of almost like, I don't know, the word initiation just came in. So initiation into this new, whatever unfolding this new is. I know I've been in this like unknown mystery kind of void space for a really long time. And I know it takes, well, I know I guess I get used to it, and I feel like I understand that I really don't know what's going on. And recently I was pretty shaken up by something came on physically for me. I had from kind of my shoulder blade down my right arm all the way down into my fingers, something that I could guess what was building it up, but it just kind of came on very quickly recently. Just a lot of pain, stress, like spasms, tension, just almost at the beginning it was just so much pain and spasms, like I could barely use my arm or my hand. And I've been doing different stretches and stuff for that, and taking some Ayurvedic stuff for that, and putting on really lovely lotions and CBD and stuff like that. But that is to say, that's just kind of things that I feel like, some of us are going through right now. So I wanted to just discuss these different things. And I guess since I spoke about kind of this physical thing that came up for me, so that means I know that people are also kind of being inundated with kind of these like body events, right? Whether it's their own body, body of someone they know, and that could include even the passing of someone that you know. These are kind of just things that I'm noticing. And for me, I can connect in part, kind of like the symptoms I'm talking about, to the current astrology. Now, astrology is not something that I don't think you have to believe in astrology because you experience it. I feel like beliefs change, you learn something new, you grow, you expand as a soul, and your beliefs they change because of who you are, where you are in life. Just there's you emerge so many times in life with a renewed sense of self, going through God knows what, these things we go through, the hard and soft lessons we go through. But yeah, I believe that our beliefs change, but our experiences change us. So for me, astrology is something that is experienced in the collective and also personally. And so we have a current alignment that just was exact a few days ago of Mars, Uranus, and Algol, a binary star. And Mars has a lot to do with muscles and aggression, adrenaline, and Uranus is a lot of like very spastic energy, very, very spastic, unpredictable. Today there's stuff going on with Microsoft, and it's canceling like all these flights. And I was at the grocery store, and their systems are just really slow and funky and barely working. Just really this unexpected, spastic, very unexpected energy. And Algol is a binary star connected to the myth of Medusa. And Medusa, I'm going to connect to the strong feminine of Medusa and the protective nature of Medusa. So kind of, it's an interesting combination of this very aggressive, unpredictable energy, right? So you really do want that something protective to come up. And the interesting thing with the Medusa's protection is it's this concrete, this hard, there's a hardness to it. And for me personally, so I think that's, in Western astrology, I'm speaking, that's how I'm kind of describing it universally, but personally in my chart, all of that was activating my Chiron, which is my wounded healer. So I had the aggressiveness in the muscles, the spazzing in the fingers, and again, almost like initially like a dead, like concrete, like solid, like can't really move feeling. So super fun. Interestingly enough, we have a full moon coming up, and right before I did this video, I was getting ready and I put on a Vedic astrology teacher that I watch, and she mentioned, I wrote down the name of it. It's the Guru Purnima moon, full moon. So it's the Guru Purnima full moon, and Guru as in teacher. And I thought this was just interesting because it's about honoring your teachers, honoring about, or a translation of like the dispeller of darkness. So these teachers we have, these ones that enlighten us, like illuminate us, right? Just like a full moon would illuminate us. Or if not a teacher, then something that we study, something that enriches us. And I just found that interesting because, again, I experience astrology. And what I wanted to make a video about was about these guides that help illuminate us, whether they be, whether it is like angels, deities, or astrologically, like our astrology, looking at like that's navigating and seeing part of ourselves here, or Oracle, Tarot, navigating as a teacher, seeing ourselves there. So it's so interesting. Just another example of just experiencing astrology, and I like I just really want to amplify that message of, you don't have to believe it to experience it. And for anyone out there who's talks about things or maybe continuously tries to talk about things that are spiritual around or to somebody that is not really a spiritual person, my heart goes out to you. We all seek deeper understanding, But at the same time, just know that, you know, whether or not someone else, somebody you could be speaking with, you can tell them a million times, you know, your beliefs or these things, but it's, you know, I think there can be a common ground found in, even if somebody else doesn't believe exactly as you believe, the way you experience something, your experiences change you. So I think regardless of the lens that you view things through, whatever you choose to view the world through, how you navigate being in the world, I think common ground can be found that your experiences change you, period. Whether or not somebody believes in an experience that you had or not, I think common ground can be found in your experiences change you. My experiences change me. Okay. So I wanted to talk to you about deities. And I wanted to share a little something personal, which I typically don't do, but I love people for being open and vulnerable and being themselves. So let's try that. Take a little sip of this. So, yeah, one way to get guidance to feel, to feel like the darkness is somewhat dispelled. Okay. And trust me, I've been feeling like I am in the vagueness of like outer space, like where am I, pitch blackness for a while now. One thing that helps illuminate that darkness is connecting with different deities. Now, for me, there's two ways this could come about. One could be through something like, oh, here we go, like a deck. Okay, so this is the Archangel Michael Sword of Light Oracle. Okay, so obviously, who am I speaking about? Okay, well in this case, this would be an angel. Okay, it's the Archangel Michael. So connecting to someone through like card deck and like just connecting to different, like here's Keeper of the Light Oracle. So we have, it's like White Buffalo Spirit to Ganesha. So one way is visually just bringing in either through, again, like a card deck or an altar card or something to put on an altar. That's one way to bring in connection. Usually people have a specific intention. They think, oh, I heard that this, this one angel or archangel is good for this. So I'm going to evoke them through either saying words, or prayer, or bringing an object in, or laying, bringing out some kind of deck and learning about who they are and, embracing it through this message. Another way is, especially for me, I've had deities enter my life. Two that were very insistent. Ganesh. So Ganesh did enter my life at a time when I really needed it. I think the most mainstream thing heard about Ganesh is the remover of obstacles. And he really showed up like that for me. And he showed up at a time when I was dealing with a really tough situation and involved some legal navigation and the need to get a restraining order. It was just a very unpleasant time. And where I was living at the time, I had found this little, like at a thrift store, I think many years ago, this little pink elephant that had a little open back to like put a plant in or something. And I just found it and I put it on the front porch. And it was one of those things where I didn't realize until I was getting certain types of assistance. I don't remember the moment that it clicked, but I realized, oh my God, Ganesha's been here. Ganesha's been helping me. In fact, there they are. They've been sitting on my porch. They've been, like Remover Rasa, like watching at my front door, like being this beautiful guardian for me, in spirit and in this really cute physical form. And it was also just in the best way when the biggest hurdle had been resolved. The little pink Ganesha flew away, or I don't know, somebody stole this thing off my porch, I guess. But the timing was still beautiful because they showed up just long enough to reinforce that I am with you. These things that you're noticing that are happening during this tough time, I'm in assistance to you. And then as soon as the major hurdle was overcome, then little Ganesha flew away. It was I got stolen off the porch or broken. I really don't know what happened, but they stayed around as long as they needed to let me know that they were there. And since that, many years ago, I've had I felt so much joy in my heart, so much connection, so much love, and just a really joyful reverence for Ganesh. And I always have Ganesh all around. Again, this little Baba Ganesh, little baby Ganesh, that I just think is so joyful. So that's my Ganesh story. It's kind of like a little secretive, like sneaking in there, like all elephants are. So stealth. And Kali, I want to talk about Kali. So Kali is a beautiful, beautiful mother goddess. And there's a lot of fear around Kali. Again, I just want to give examples of kind of how deities have shown themselves to me and come into my life. And so if you're getting so this translates or resonates with you, I just want you to deepen those insights, those instincts, and encourage you to follow them. So Kali is a beautiful mother goddess. One of the best stories, little examples to give about Kali, I heard from Alana Fairchild, who's a spiritual teacher who writes beautiful oracle decks and teaches beautiful things. But she gave the example of Kali being like, if there was a mother lion and a cub, and the cub starts to wander off and wander near like humans, and we don't know, these are like unknown variable people, we don't know who they are, starts to wander off there. The mother lion giving a roar, speaking to the cub to get back. And essentially, as maybe the cub would look back, but then the cub keeps going out, and so the roar gets louder. So this is a very instinctual, protective kind of, ferocity, wild ferocity. And then the idea that, the cub keeps doing his little paws forward and gets way too close to these humans, right? And at that point, the growl is massive and just scares the, really alerts and scares the lion cub, and kind of rumbles the earth. Like, that's the kind of loving protection from Kali. And I was thinking about being in this transitional place when you feel like you're really lost to what's happening. You're kind of in this unknown, this void space. You are kind of like in the unconscious, in this moon state, when you're not really sure. And I kind of want to merge this idea of these teachers who dispel the darkness, who, illuminate. And I want to bring Kali in as someone who is really that person who can embody the darkest before the dawn. Because the way that her grace moves, or the way that some of her emanations erode, like in a very natural way of like erosion and renewal cycles of life. I feel like she does really have this darkest before dawn quality to her, in the same way that we often hear about this metaphor of when we're going through a rebirth, a transformation, and the caterpillar butterfly metaphor, right? Where essentially at one point there is no more caterpillar. There's nothing, like, it is this erosion of what was known to the self, right? In so many ways. It's it's almost like if you could take a flower and it melts into a seed, and then when it emerges, it opens back up. It's like when it's like a snake or a tarantula. When they go into this space, it's this kind of shamanic space where you, like, think of a snake when they shed their skin. Well, they're still the snake, and they emerge as the snake in their skin, yet they shed the skin that they're in, but they emerge as the snake in the skin, just like a tarantula has this, is it exoskeleton? But, and I'm not like well versed on snakes and tarantulas, but I know they also they have this shedding, and I feel it's a very shamanic energy of you are and you aren't at the same time. Same thing with like in the chrysalis, you are but you aren't, and if you are and you aren't, if you are one thing and part of this greater, larger connection to the whole, and you go through this process where you either feel like, and maybe it's in life, you feel like you're being beat down, or you feel like you are like soup in that chrysalis. You don't know what you are. You're soup, not sure what you're going to come out as. It's this darkest before the dawn feeling where you're in this like transitional state. And this is, I'm still trying to explain Kali in this loving but powerful way. It really is unshakable, this way of bringing your attention to something that you cannot shake away. It is so present to you, and it is so in you, and you know that you are part of a transformation and a change, whether you feel like you're soup, whether you feel like certain parts of your DNA are being upgraded or stripped out of your skin. It's intense, but the idea of kind of shedding yourself to then emerges yourself. But this self is going to be connected to the, as I've said so many times, Jaima Kali, for the benefit of all beings. So when you emerge, you are closer aligned with who you are, which inherently, innately, is for the benefit of all beings. I love Kali. Can you tell? Kali came to me very differently. She was not stealth. I don't think anyone who even has a slight inkling about Kali will be too surprised by that. I just recall this sense where I had to go. I had to get in my car and I had to go to this metaphysical shop that I love in Willow Glen, California. This has happened twice. The first time I was called to go somewhere to go to that shop is when I started working with Moldavite years before. I love my Tactites, but I felt this calling. I just had to get in my car and I had to go there. I didn't know why, but I went. And I showed up, and I remember I went to the shop, and there was somebody I'd never seen before working. And I don't know, I rarely saw them after that. But clearly they were there. I was like, I'm here. I'm not sure why I'm supposed to be here, but something's calling me here. And I remember going around the shop and then going back by the decks. And I still wasn't sure. And so a very, you know, mama lion given that roar, right? Like, hey, over here, come over here. This woman, again, who was in the shop, who I'd never seen work before, pulled out this deck, this Kali Oracle, which is very rich. It's over 40 different emanations of Kali. It's richly studied and written. It's beautiful. And she handed me this because she was somebody who, that mother goddess, she has been working with Kali. And I remember kind of not quite being sure. But I don't remember that feeling lasting for very long, because I think there was just this sense of knowing in me that, no, this is why you were called here. And that's why this person showed up. That's why they just walked up to you and handed you this. And I think that second mama lion roar of like, come back here. I said, come back. I'm calling you here. I'm going to keep roaring, And so that's how I met Kali. And it was not very long after I started working with her that a lot of very, very, very strong things happen. Like I said, Kali will really, she will remove things in a way that are done with really, sometimes it will be soft, but it would be a very heavy soft, heavy softness. How can I say? An intense softness. Where I was at the time, I really needed a lot of grounding through Kali, a lot of illumination through Kali. I have this beautiful piece of art that I did named Hannah, and there are many videos, there's a handful of videos about her on my channel. You can see them. It's a full life-size sculpture that I wrote my first personal myth about. She is a Valkyrie. You can see me read that myth if you'd like. I remember one point I looked, there were over 500,000 views on her, and I thought I should have put something on about how to get her, because I want to give her a good home, because she is currently sitting in California. Anyway, so I had this large seated art piece. So think of the size of a human. And I had this instinct that I had to put her in storage. I had to get her specifically. I had lots of other art with me, but I had to put her in storage. And where I was living, she was sitting in the living room, and within 24, maybe 48 hours, I got a storage unit, put Hannah in there, put this sculpture in there. And again, not 24, 48 hours later, the person I was living with had extremely high tolerance for THC, extremely high. Yet they still I don't know how supernova high they got. And they passed out, and they had something boiling on the stove, and it had a coating on it. And I remember I was sitting on the floor painting, doing my intuitive art, listening to one of my spiritual teachers, just really being a super channel, very spiritual. And I was sitting in my bedroom doing this with the door closed, and I don't even know if I suddenly smelled something or what it was, but basically I opened the door, and this kind of coating that was on the pan, this nasty, nasty, nasty coating, I opened the door, and it was smoke, but it was white smoke that was this sticky, from the sticky coating, this nasty coating, and it was just white smoke throughout the house. Again, this was right after I got Kali. instinct was like, you have to move this art piece. She would have been completely destroyed. The cleanup process that I did for some reason, not the other person, that I did for this was very intensive. It was a lot. And at that time too, I developed a relationship with this cat, who I'd call like a Norwegian forest cat, who I named, and she was a very special cat. And for the first time, I had a relationship with this wild cat. I mean, she was a wild cat, and I found myself engaging in that aspect of like the mother goddess of the earth mother, wild, feral side. And I found a lot of lessons and learning delivered through Kali, delivered through this beautiful animal. And this wild, I mean, just wild, gorgeous. Of course she was gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous baby angel, who I could not take with me when I left. But this beautiful angel, and I learned so much just being out with them, out like sitting on the grass, sitting in the yard, and playing with little pieces of things that were growing, sitting out at night, sitting with this beautiful wild creature. And it just taught me so much without sitting down going, I'm learning this. No, it's through love. The realest energy and vibration in the world, what rules the world. And it was teaching me these lessons about wildness. It was teaching, she was teaching me these lessons. And I believe that she was delivered at that time because I was working and still work with the mother goddess Kali. And I learned so much about just connection. Yeah, connection to the wildness of nature, connection to just a wild creature, and how much love there is there, how much just deep well of love there is in this wildness, and their wildness and their innate nature. Yeah. So I just wanted to put those examples out there because you can connect in so many ways. Maybe you're someone who you haven't been called like that. Or you haven't had kind of this stealthy sneak attack little baby come up. There's also, just ways of working with, you could just maybe be somebody who connects with the natural world. You could, maybe you are a fairy person. Maybe you work with plants and fairies in that way. Maybe when you walk out and take time in nature, sit in nature, maybe you notice like the little leaves waving at you. Maybe you notice, and if that makes sense, then it makes sense to you, because I feel like I see the things that wave to me, and I don't have to be far removed in nature to do it. I'll see if like a little plant is waving at me. It's these kind of connections that are kind of, they're seen and unseen, right? They're experienced, and they are experiences that deepen our, well, at least for me, they make me feel stable, okay, if I feel completely really not okay. And it's okay, by the way, to not feel okay, and it's okay to feel however you feel. I don't believe there are like inherently negative emotions. I think if somebody was happy all the time, I would run for the hills, because I don't want to know. I don't want to meet somebody who is just like insanely wide-eyed and like, I don't know, that seems very psychotic to me. I think all emotions are valid. I think all states of emotion are valid. What other things? Yeah. Working with angels. I know angels always seem very, I feel like people think angels are like really gentle, so it's like a happy thing to mention. Angels are guides. Guides, I feel like a lot of people are like, okay, well, guides can be whoever. And a lot of people, angels can be whoever. So let's say you have people that you love that have crossed over, okay? And so maybe your guide is someone you know, whether that's an animal or a person. Maybe that's an ancestor that you know or don't know. And different ways that you can connect with them. Sometimes maybe you're sensitive to things, and maybe you see signs from loved ones, and maybe it's something that really is very specific, something you just know. Maybe they come to you and show you something, again, to just bring a little bit of light in the darkness, illuminate, the truth of you, the love, the soul. Maybe they show up. I mean, I have like one grandmother that I associate with dragonflies, and so she flew over my car today. I know that's grandma. That's this grandma. But they're different, a lot of people have certain creatures in the natural world that they do relate to those that have crossed over, and that's valid like anything else. It's however makes sense to you, how you're experiencing that interaction, how your loved ones here or there, or that come down to say hello, how it could relate to something when they were still alive. Or it could be a way that even they've told you, this is how I'm going to come through, or they show up during times, certain things happen, certain instincts drop in when you're trying to make a decision, and it feels a certain way. If you know the names of any of your angels, and you're talking to them or asking them for information, you may get like a physical sensation. I tend to get things in my ear with one of my angels. And also when I do oracle and tarot readings, when I connect higher self to higher self, or if there's someone connected to the person I'm doing the reading for, I tend to get physical sensation first, like here too. So it's like, I don't know, physical, almost painful sensation. But and by the way, I've done oracle and tarot readings for decades. I've read for people all over the world, because people are people. And I do it in a very intuitive, fun way. And if you're interested in a reading, please contact me on Instagram or Facebook. And if you're interested in general about what readings are for yourself, or having one done for you, essentially it's just, again, another tool, another way of seeing yourself, communicating with yourself, revealing things to yourself. If you are a visual person, tarot and oracle may speak to you on a deeper level. Like me, I'm an artist. I love connecting to artwork. I have a lot of oracle and tarot, and I connect the strongest, not just through the messages, but really through the artwork. Because when you do look at, here, I have a deck here. Let's see. Good Lord. Oh my God, I pulled two very red cards and very different. The Devil and the Empress. That's really funny. Anyway, so, and this is like a very fairy tale deck. Wow, I'm so sorry. It's just really, really funny. Look, they're kind of like leaning towards each other. This is so funny. So much about strength and generosity and sovereignty and queendom and fertility and just Aphrodite love. And and then here we go with the Devil. So temptations, and it makes me think of also karma, and karma to me is just choices. So like, you choose this has this effect. You choose that, this has this effect. And I don't really think it's like, oh, you just have good or bad karma. No, like you make choices and you can kind of backtrack like, oh, that's why, right? And you're not like in a bubble. Other people exist. They have influence, but I don't think of it like, you know, oh, you have really good karma or bad karma. Like, well, you probably make good choices or quote bad choices, but good choices or bad choices. But then again, that's all about this process of growth, right? Like your soul's growth. So if you make choices that are more empowered and more fertile for your growth, literally fertile for your growth and loving, self-loving, versus things that, yeah, that really burn us out, that are very depleting, that are overwhelming, that seem insurmountable, that we feel like we have to give ourselves over to or give our power away to. Yeah, you know. So it's just choices. I think karma's just choices, in terms of that. And I don't mean to say like good or bad choices to say like, I mean, I made good and bad choices. I made tons of bad choices and tons of good choices. And when I've known what actually works for me, I make better choices. Eventually. Because, you know, we're all learning and growing. And if you're empathic, you've probably had to navigate a bit of a storyline there, which goes from being victimized, taking on other people's energy, attracting, let's say, you know, really harsh pathologies around you, and you become victimized. Then you have to deal with being a victim, and then you have to identify and work with and accept the things that have happened on as many levels as you can. And then when you move out of victimhood, it's a whole long journey. And yeah, it's a journey that especially empathic people who really emanate like light and love, I'll just use these terms. Yeah, it's a heavy journey, but we don't just benefit others, we're definitely benefiting ourselves. And the more that we anchor into our path, our journey, the more we do anchor into ourselves. It's just a lot because we're a human being. I'm a human being, you're a human being. And stuff is really complicated until it's simple. And then even when it's simple, it can still be hard. I hope like one person is following me here. That'd be great. So what else haven't I mentioned? Talked about astrology a bit. Oh, so if you're somebody, yeah, I mean, again, yeah, astrology, that's a great tool to, and I mostly know my Western astrology, work in my natal chart. I do like and tap into some bits of Vedic astrology. I mentioned like my physical, the physical pain and things that I was experiencing related to astrology. That is something that maybe is this kind of like medical astrology, or just looking up aspects of medical astrology, what certain like planets and what do they relate to parts in the body. Maybe that's interesting to you. You can definitely check that out as a way to work with your body, since I know so many of our bodies are getting really, really hit right now. And just it's a very confusing, odd time, and it's a very odd time being in an election cycle right now. I feel like I'm getting deja vu. Except this time I'm in Michigan. Last time I was in California. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. So the point of this this video is really to just kind of share some things about my life, share some things about these different forms of communication. If you are interested in like working with something you feel is very like soft, gentle, like this angelic energy, you know, you can always work with guides or angels or even your ancestors. You don't need to call them by name. You could always do something like automatic writing. If you're somebody who likes putting pen to paper, ask a question and then ask for an answer from, if you know a name, if you don't know a name, you can make up a name, however you want to identify this other, and then just let it flow through you for an answer. If you like Oracle or Tarot and you want to get clarity, like the kind of like the cleanest reading, if you feel overwhelmed, I always give the advice, just ask for your higher self to draw a card, ask for one of your angels or guides to draw a card. And especially if you're in that overwhelmed headspace and you're just generally feeling negative, like, or like shit, or what fucking ever, you don't even fucking know, or depressed or terrible, you just want some help, like, please give me some fucking guidance. I would suggest that is calling on your higher self, calling on angels or guides, archangels, whatever it may be, someone who's crossed over, because, and you can do this, you could draw a card from the state you're in, like doing your natural shuffling of cards the way you draw cards, and then draw another one from your higher self or any of those people I just mentioned, and it'll be a very different message, and the message is always going to be very loving and positive. So that's just something to keep in mind. Sometimes we can reinforce our position and kind of help us loop in a more destructive emotional cycle when using Oracle Tarot or Tarot cards, because especially as an empath, I just feel like we can really just emote into the cards and kind of draw our energy, and then we're picking. Which, haha, very funny. So these cards, God damn, this devil came up again. So what is your energy, Sarah? It's the Empress and the Devil. It's both and. It's in an interesting place, apparently. But yeah, just some tips on that. And then this is the Darkwood Tarot. And I think it's really fun. It's kind of, like I said, like a fairy tale look to it. It's a story about this little shadow witch, and she's going through the woods, and it's her adventure being told through the tarot. And the cards have archetypes, so it's archetypal work too. Archetype work, another way that you can gain some clarity and insight and feel grounded, get some footing underneath you, if that appeals to you. Whew. I want to look at this since I pulled this out while we were talking. So I just pulled out this Eight of Cups. Oh my God. In reverse card. That's okay. I'll get that later. Let me see. Eight of Cups. Three of Cups. King of Cups. Ace of Swords. Where are we going? Eight of Cups. The Slithering Snake. Let's see. So here, like, I just drew this card. Doesn't it look sometimes like, I don't know about you, but that's how I felt like a few days during this week for sure. just like a little snake. I was talking about like that little shamanic snake, and it's like you're like want to shed your skin. You want to lose yourself to find more of yourself. There's some water, but it's pretty desolate before then. It's awesome. So I'm going to read this little part, this little shadow aspect of a slithering snake. So evolution is essential. Are you running away from a situation or avoiding responsibility for your actions? Use care. Examine all aspects of your current situation before abandoning ship, lest they will return to haunt you. You'll revisit the same energy, cycles, and patterns wearing a different mask. So that is really interesting. Yeah, because we have a lot of tumultuous energy and emotionally high energy, astrologically speaking, right now. That's collectively hitting us, and again, independently in our own lives, in our own ways, hitting us. This just reminded me of something I heard earlier in the week, which was, don't burn that bridge yet. Like, hold off. Our emotions are so powerful. They're so incredibly powerful. Tools of communication, tools of learning of the self. There's no negative emotion, like bad emotion, okay? It's all just part of you. So you can't just be bad whenever you feel bad. It doesn't make you a bad person to feel sad or depressed or something. But this is what it's making me think of. It's making me think of these cyclic, these cycles of almost, again, deja vu, these repeating cycles of things. And especially because things are harsher, and maybe harsher in your body or in your relationships right now, the emotions can really, really overtake. And so I would just say in general, yeah, kind of that awareness of, if they overtake you, you might be locking yourselves back in an emotional cycle, time warping a bit, getting hit with some PTSD, getting hit with some through like previous trauma, or if you're in a situation where there's somebody who's bringing abuse towards you, whatever the situation is, and whatever. When emotions are extra heavy now, so spiking PTSD response, which spikes your nervous system. You get dysregulated, depending on the kind of remembrance or trauma. You could just be dissociative. And these are things to just keep in mind, because again, right now things are just heavy and emotional in a way where even things we've dealt with, even things we've outgrown, to use that term, you know, the body can really remind us of things that were not done processing, integrating. And it's not to say you need to put your whole life on hold to address something, but I feel like this is just a good thing to pop up to remind us that, okay, it's popping up. Okay, let's say you even go into a time warp and you cycle through these emotions. That's fine. But if you can just put a breath of remembrance in, whether it's saying it out loud to yourself, whether it's writing in a journal, whether it's connecting through any of these methods I've been talking about, to just bring you to yourself, to the present moment, to remember, regardless of if you loop through, dissociate or loop through something due to past trauma. That's okay. Doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't mean you did something wrong, you failed at anything. You're fine. But just if you can bring in a breath of remembrance for yourself or where you are now, I think it'll be really helpful, and it might even save you. You might even be able to get a little bit ahead of the curve the next time that something spikes up and you feel it and you go, okay, this is dysregulating my nervous system. If you're empathic and very sensitive like me, I mean, it's not even a joke. Like, you just feel it like that. Like, or maybe it's feeling like a bomb going off in your body. So funny. A friend I haven't spoken to for a while is calling me now. It's so interesting. So I just wanted to share some, to just really also just encourage you that if this time is a massive rebirthing transformation and it's messy and you don't fucking know, it's okay. And you're not alone. And there are ways that you can ground or dispel a little darkness, give a little illumination as you embrace and walk through and move through life in whatever emotional state until you feel the next and the next and the next and the next. You know what? I'll do one. Let's see, intentional card. So I'll say a light in the darkness, a light in the darkness, a light in the darkness. Beautiful. She returns. She goes, not a devil. You're not getting pulled twice. A light in the darkness. And I'm just going to look at the Empress really quick. And I'm going to think of this red in this card, not just like love, but also I'm going to look at it as the root chakra. That's a big one. That's like hello when we're little bitty babies. So that's a big one. So maybe you might even have some familial relationships or trauma related to when you were a little kid spiking. Oh my God. So the Empress archetype is the mother, and your passion is the blueprint to your magic. And that really, passion is something that, I mean, I do have a passion for spiritual things. So I think that's one reason why it brings me out of states of frustration or the like. That's one thing, you know, I'm a very creative person. Creativity, doing something like this brings me out of the state of feeling like I'm sinking into concrete. So passion is your blueprint for magic. Passion is your cure for frustration. Engaging in any of these things I talked about can be that light that grounds you, that passion, that magic that grounds you back into now. Mother figure creation, artistic ability, soft, gentle, nurturing touch, reinvention and expression, confidence in the abundance of the soul, fertility and rebirth. I'm saying rebirth because that's the feeling. Sensual pleasure and earthly delights, stepping in tune with the seasonal change, stepping in tune. A lot of us feel very out of tune or confused about what music we're moving to right now. Displaying natural abundance in all things, the nurturing of self-expression and potential. So I hope this was helpful for those that watched. And I hope that whatever you choose to embrace, any of these kinds of connection, I hope it gives you moments, if not lasting lengths of peace and connection and deep internal guidance. You are very loved. You are held and seen by many, even if it feels that you are held and seen by none. You have innate worth. You are very loved. And until next time.